There is one mistake that's probably more expensive than any other mistake in poker, and it is also the most common mistake I see at 1-2 and 1-3 live. Recently, one of my viewers sent me 5 hands to review. The same mistake showed up in 4 of them, and there's a good chance you are making it too. So in this video, I'll show you exactly what that mistake is, why it keeps putting players in difficult spots, and how to avoid it with one simple adjustment. Stephen only started playing poker less than a year ago and has had some success in the card rooms in San Diego, California, and has only really played cash games for about 2 months.
So I asked you initially what you thought were your leaks, and you said that your suspected leak was that after staying tight, then being aggressive when you have it. In a way, I can see what you mean there. I noticed that a little bit, but this is something that a lot of players do. They're not quite aware of what their actual leaks are. So that's why it's great that you've come here, because now we're able to pinpoint these leaks exactly. Okay, so let's look at the first hand that you sent in. And here we have a big raise from the under the gun +1 player, and we have ace deuce suited on the button. There is only one correct play at this point, and that is to snap fold. And the reason for that is, well, first of all, and we'll get to that later, but it's just not a great hand anyway. But the main reason is the player opened to 7x here. So it's 7 times the big blind. This is huge, but you called this one, otherwise it would have been a bit of a boring hand, I guess. And everyone else folds. So you do go heads up to this one. And this is a very interesting flop, because now you have what I call a combo draw. So you have a flush draw, and on top of that, you also have a gut shot. That means that if your opponent has an overpair or top pair or whatever they have, you now have a lot of equity. You're actually a favorite to win this hand. And if this is the case, you want to put in a lot of money on the flop. The ideal scenario is basically you want to shove here and your opponent folds, so you can just take it down. And if he calls, as I said, you're still a favorite. So there is actually nothing bad that can happen from you putting in a lot of money at this stage. Now, let's just look at what's happening here. So villain bets 2/3 pot, and you decide to raise this one small. I'm happy with the raise, just the sizing that's a bit of an issue in this situation. I would like to see this bigger. If he has a legitimate hand, all you're doing is inflating the pot now, and yes, you still kind of favorite to win it, so it's not a disaster. But as I said, my intention here with such a good combo draw would be to get it all in if possible. So I'm not saying you should go all in straight away, but just make it bigger here, make it 120, 130. As played, he now raises you again. And at this point, this is just an easy shove here. Like, I mean, now we're not going to fold anymore. As you said, we are the favorites to win this hand, even if he has an overpair or an unlikely 2-pair or set or whatever. We're still kind of favorites to win this hand. So that's why this is now your invitation to shove. If you call here, look at this. We've got now 366 in the middle with only 120 behind, with 2 cards to come. This will just become awkward to play now. That's why just shove at this point, and you don't have any decision to make for the rest of the hand. But as played, it checks through on the turn. Now you get there on the river. He checks. Well, there's only one play now that we haven't gone all in earlier. You shove and he calls, and he has 10-3 offsuit for a bolt. Now, I can see the frustration here, but the point is calling pre-flop was the mistake. And yes, if I know that this player opens here with 10-3 offsuit, then I still don't like the call, but then you don't have to fold, then you can just raise there and play a very small margin game. That for me was still the big mistake pre-flop.
I think I probably value aces too high then in this sense. I think I value like suited aces also too high.
It's not even just about ace deuce suited. Let's look at the next hand, because the next hand is very similar, and then we'll find some heuristics here. So the next hand, very similar. It makes it 21 once again. It folds to you and you have ace jack offsuit. If I don't know this player under the gun +1, do you know what you should do with this hand?
Do you fold this as well?
This is a fold if you don't know the player. Yes. If you know that it's this guy who is like really opening 10-3 offsuit, then this is a raise now. But it's not a call either. You are indeed overvaluing ace X hands. They're not as good as you think. They might have reverse implied odds against you. And assuming that this is a tight under the gun +1 range, which it normally would be, then your hand is actually not good enough because villain is not meant to raise anything worse than pretty much this hand. So and he has only this hand or better hands, then why call with this sort of hand? Now, as I said, because if this is the same player as before who had the 10-3, that's a different story. Now we can continue, but still I would not call a 7x raise with a drop structure with all of that. Just raise it in that scenario. You called again here, again same thing happens, and this is interesting now. So he bets 30 and you fold. What do you call ace jack 4 preflop to then fold when you hit?
This is like where I think my biggest leak is that if I don't hit it in the flop, then I'm like done. I'm just like instantly out. And so like the hand before was like me trying to bet on draws and like be more comfortable with draws. Even if it was like also wrong, I should have folded pre-flop. But like for this hand, I didn't get an ace and I had middle pair. I have such a hard time putting a range on the people that I play with because they will play with so many of them will play with like literally anything that I like think like queen is absolutely in their range.
You see monsters under the bed. I mean, I'm not saying that he doesn't have the queen, but it's very normal for a player to just throw out a continuation bet there with whatever they have. What you're doing here is essentially playing bingo and hoping that you hit the jackpot at bingo. When would you feel comfortable here? If the flop comes ace 8 4, are you comfortable to call that? Well, who's saying that he doesn't have ace king or ace queen or ace 8 or pocket 8 or pocket 4s or ace 4 or any of those hands? If you ever call in this spot and then you hit, then you can't throw. I'm not saying you should call triple barrel, but you can't fold just straight away on the flop if that happens. I still think the mistake here was once again pre-flop. We're gonna talk about this in a second. Let's just look at the next hand. And this is kind of a similar mistake in a way. So here we have a raise to 15, and this time we have ace king offsuit here and under the gun +1. Given what we have talked about so far, what do you think you should do in this spot?
I don't want to say fold.
No, you don't have to say fold. It's
Okay.
folding would definitely be the wrong play here. Don't worry.
Okay. Okay.
But another play that's wrong is to call. And this is what you did again here. So can you see a pattern developing? You just like calling a lot pre-flop. As played, look at this. Low jack calls, and now you go 3 ways to it. And this is the other thing now. Earlier, you folded ace jack. So here, you folded ace jack on queen jack 8 to 1 bet. But look at this. Now, this guy bets. You even have another player behind you, and all you have is ace high. You had a much better hand previously, and it was heads up. Now you're in a multi-way pot. You only have ace high, and look what you do. You called it. So now we get raised by the low jack. Under the gun calls, we fold. And then, yeah, the ace comes, whatever, they check it through, and the guy wins with ace 3 there. If we play this hand the way I wanted to play it, if we raise pre-flop, we would go 45 there. I think the low jack with his ace 3 off just folds. He won't be in the hand. And then you will win this hand. You would have won this hand by just being more aggressive pre-flop. But once again, I'm suspecting that you're playing what most recreational players play is like they think they're playing poker, but in reality they're playing bingo, and they're just hoping to hit big.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. You are absolutely right that I very much love being passive, not only pre-flop, but also post-flop.
But yeah, let's look at the next one. You will see there is similar pattern. So there is a raise to 15. There is a call. We know what you're going to do here. But let's ask the question again. What would be the right play here?
Fold.
Oh, snap fold.
Yeah.
That's like
Yeah.
there was a raise to 5 big blinds from under the gun. There is a call. Even if you only get 3 bet here by a legitimate hand, like say queens plus, there are still 5 players to act behind you. So there is a non-zero possibility that someone wakes up with a big hand and squeezes. And even if not, this hand doesn't play well multi-way. You're going to go into a multi-way pot by calling. So once again, you're just hoping that your numbers are going to get called up in the bingo game. And even then, you're not not drawing to the nuts. You're drawing to the queen high flush if you get it, and someone might have the ace or king high flush, and you might get stacked. And here you go super multi-way. I think everyone at the table calls. You're in a great game. That I will tell you. This is a game that's absolutely not even not just beatable. You could kill it in this one. You can make a lot of money in those games if you do the right things. The right thing, spoiler alert, is not to call with queen unsuited here in a pot. And now this is what develops here, and this is the next thing. So earlier we saw you fold second pair in a heads up pot, and look what you did in this one here. You now bet second pair against 7 players. Whenever a pot goes multi-way, you need to have a very strong hand to continue. So if anyone had bet here, I would have folded this hand. That's how bad second pair is in a super multi-way pot. I think I would even fold queen jack here if someone bet. In multi-way pots, you have to be very, very careful how you continue. By betting here, you're basically only going to get called by better hands. And here in this case, okay, you get called. Now you hit another 9, which is great. So now we want to make some money against a jack. You bet 100. The only problem is the bigger you go now, the more you isolate yourself against hands that beat you, because under the gun +1 could have a 9, he could have pocket 4s, he could have pocket jacks, he could have jack 9. So there are a few hands there, but I'm absolutely okay at this point to go for value now. You get called again. And on this river, you now don't even shove, you just leave 60 behind. When the pot is that big, just shove yourself. Because what's happening now is you get shoved on. And the problem is, when this happens, you're basically never good, but you're not going to fold for 60. He has pocket 4s, and this is what I mean. If you fold this one pre-flop, you're not getting stacked here. And all this did was, with all the reverse implied odds, was that you got stacked because once again, you made this mistake pre-flop. And I'm now going to show you the one hand that you showed me that you won. And I think you played this one very well. You raised pocket jacks to 30 pre-flop, which looks crazy, but I really like it because these players will still call you with worse. And that's why you can get away with it. Do it. It's great. Most players do fold, but the big blind just can't get away from it, so he calls you. Now, this is not a great flop for you, but you continue betting. I really like this as well. This is exactly how I would teach to play this hand. You get called on this turn, you check. This is still exactly perfect. And then the king pairs on the river, and I don't know if it was intentional, if you didn't really know what to do. Let's give you credit that you knew this and you did it, because I really love this. And you went for a fairly small bet, which I call a thin value bet, because the vast majority of players would just check back here because they would be afraid that villain is slow playing something. But this is an easy one to bet because you can get called by a 9, by an 8, maybe even pocket 10s, pocket 6s, 7s. And if you ever get raised in this spot, then it becomes an easy fold, because I don't think he will ever bluff you here or do this with anything that you beat. He folded, so you didn't make any extra money, but I really congratulate you for finding this thin value bet here on the river. But what I was going to say here in the bigger picture is the 4 times where you didn't do it right was because you were way too passive. You called pre-flop and then you only got aggressive when you thought you had a hand, which actually wasn't even the case. And now this was the time when you took the initiative, you showed aggression, and you won the hand and you did everything right. So this was your suspected leak. You thought that you were too aggressive when you have it. What I actually think is happening is your big leak is that you are way too passive pre-flop. You're more reactive than active. Being too passive, that shows up in situations where you call too much, where you don't 3-bet hands that you should 3-bet, and that you're not price sensitive. Like I said, when someone makes it 21 to go, you just call in those situations. You're essentially trying to play bingo. There is a very simple fix to all of that, and this is what I think would be your 10x moves. First thing that I would do is to completely eliminate calling pre-flop, with one exception, and that is hands that play well multi-way. So those hands are suited ace-x and small to medium pocket pairs, but only if it's likely that the hand will go multi-way. If you do not have a multi-way hand, you have to force yourself to say, I either fold this hand or I 3-bet this hand. There is nothing else that I can do in these situations. Already, this will make you perform much better. And then the next thing that I would highly recommend is to get my free pre-flop ranges cheat sheet. I'm going to link it in the description below, because that's when you can see what kind of hands I like 3-betting in every position and what kind of hands I like to just fold there. And then the third thing is you can practice online. Just play micro stakes, 1 cent, 2 cent games, where it doesn't matter if you make big mistakes and you lose your whole $2 there. But the point is that you practice exactly this strategy. You do not want to ever call if you play online. Just always decide, do I want to 3-bet or do I want to fold? And this will, in time, make it very automatic for you. And then if you want the bonus move that would definitely get you to become a crusher in those games that are really easy to beat, that would be to have like a structured program, like my coaching program, where you go through everything from pre-flop, flop, turn, river, where you learn the fundamentals, where you actually understand where you are in a hand and the reasons why you're betting. So that's why with that program, I'm sure you could be crushing these games.
3-betting is terrifying for me, so I will have to try that, and I have to definitely be a lot more precise with my ranges on the flop and pre-flop.
If you really want to take this seriously, you just have to decide whether you want to invest in your game and really improve, or you just want to play it recreationally, because I know these games are super easy to beat long term, but they can be very frustrating because yes, players do show up with all sorts of hands there. Now, as I said, and I don't want to pitch my program too much, if you really are interested, that's exactly what we do there. We look at hands like this every week. And for 6 months, I have the 10 lessons that talk you through everything, like the whole pre-flop strategy, the whole flop strategy, turn, river strategy, why we bet, why we don't bet, how to do hand reading, how to do all the exploiting around that, how to deal with mindset issues. So that's all covered in that. If you really want to make this a success, I would definitely recommend, and that would get you to a completely different level, like it has done for a lot of my students.
If you would like to find out how I can help you crush your local games, you can book a free league review call with my team. Link is in the description below. Or you can watch this video next, where I explain how I can help you become a live low stakes crusher yourself.